everyone. I hope that you're all healthy, safe, and all is going well. And I realize that there could be many people who are not familiar with our group. So let me tell you that the BritCham Professional Women's Group has been in existence for the past decade. It's 10 years for us, and we are proud to say that the British Chamber is the only European chamber in Jakarta with a women-only sector group. And we have a lot of women on the board now. There are 6 women board members, and out of them, 3 of us are on this panel today. So this is going to be a really exciting event. And I would like to now invite Ollie Riches, who is chairman of BritCham Indonesia, to please give the opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunny, and good afternoon or good morning or good evening to everybody, wherever you may be. People who've heard me speak before will have heard this as well, and Sunny just mentioned it. We are the only Chamber of Commerce, or certainly European Chamber of Commerce, with an active professional women's group. And having celebrated 10 years recently, it's been really well led by Sunny for many years now, and with a lot of passion, supported closely by the likes of Dian and Ranjana and Valentina as well, who come from very large organizations, and this is a subject matter which is of great passion to them, but also great importance as well to their businesses. And myself, the board, Chris Wren, the executive director, are all very committed to enabling us to have a platform which allows the professional women's group to really make a significant impact. And that's the key to this is really sort of looking at how we get some tangible results. That we've got some very established business professionals who've really had very strong careers and have great stories to fall back on around that as well, which hopefully is part of it. And I know there are some really interesting initiatives coming out as well, which I know Sunny and the team will be communicating over the coming weeks as we go. I was talking to the British Embassy team quite recently, and they were asking me about the British Chamber board. It's something which sometimes we don't talk about that much, but the diversity of the BritCham board is something which actually is being held up as a really good example of what a lot of companies are trying to achieve in Indonesia, particularly, is this diversity or balance between gender, but also nationality as well. And I'm very proud of the board we have today, and that's something I know the British Embassy is keen to sort of use more in its communications as well when potential investors are coming into the country, or companies here are looking at how they sort of build a sustainable business. I also head up a business called Michael Page, which is a British executive recruitment firm. I run it for the region, based out of Jakarta. And from a hiring point of view, we are seeing an interesting increase in the number of both roles we're hiring from a D&I perspective. So companies, multinationals, SMEs, startups really sort of coming along the lines that they need to sort of hire a more balanced workforce. And that's during COVID as well, where there's many, as we know, many distractions going on at the moment. So that's interesting to see, and good to see as well that those conversations are now taking place on a much more regular basis. Companies, particularly multinationals, maybe seeing Indonesia as an opportunity where they're earlier in their sort of ecosystem to put in place the type of practices they want. And we're seeing HR functions particularly coming to us for advice around that. How do we do this so it's sustainable rather than just ticking a box? And hopefully, if you are sat on this webinar today and thinking about opportunities, there are significant opportunities, particularly at leadership level, for sort of people coming through and willing to challenge the norm, I suppose. And I think there is more of an appetite these days to do that and have some more creative thinking. So it's really pertinent that we're having this conversation. I'll let Sunny introduce the panel in more detail. But thank you to all of you for giving up your time to do this, and I'm interested to hear how I can energize myself as well. But on a final note, thank you, because from a diversity point of view, I realize I'm a male boule on a very female panel. So thank you for that. And it's very much in the spirit of diversity. So Sunny, I'll hand over back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ollie, and appreciate your time and support for our events. Thank you so much. And next, I would like to invite Nancy Ploger. She is the co-founder of IWEC. And for those of you who don't know, IWEC is actually a global nonprofit organization that helps women-owned businesses connect and grow. IWEC is in 42 countries now, and BritCham Indonesia is one of the 43 affiliate partners of IWEC. So Nancy, over to you, and good morning as you are in New York City. And thank you for helping us to make this event happen.
No, thank you very much, Sony, and welcome everyone. I'm glad you could join us. I'm thrilled today to be working with the BritCham and Sony and Poonam, and nice to meet you, Ali, as well. Thank you for those words. As Sony indicated, we are a nonprofit based in New York, and we work with chambers of commerce and women's business groups from all over the world. We have annual conferences that have been held in different cities, from Lima, Peru, to Stockholm, Sweden, to Cape Town, South Africa, Delhi, India. We also have global ambassadors, and Poonam Sagar, who is on the call today. She is our global ambassador representing the area of Indonesia and also India and the whole Asia area. And we're thrilled again to be able to present this event. And our main objective is to help to educate women-owned businesses on how to continue to grow their business globally. We do so through offering market intelligence, education, connections, and visibility. Visibility meaning that every year at our annual conference, we honor women who have been successful in growing their businesses because of their global interactions. We have now honored over 425 awardees from around the world through all of our conferences, which started in 2007. And this fall in November, our conference is being hosted by the Bahrain Chamber of Commerce. We were supposed to have it there in person last year. For obvious reasons, we didn't. We also made the decision earlier this year not to hold an in-person conference again for this 2021, but we're certainly hoping that in 2022 we can get back together and have an in-person conference. So thank you very much. I really appreciate the participation of all the panelists and discussing this important topic. And we hope that you will have some takeaways that you can actually put into action in your own business and in your own personal life as well. So thank you so very much for joining us. And again, it will be taped. We will be sharing it, and feel free to pass it on to your colleagues as well. Thank you. Thank you, Sony.
Thank you, Nancy, for that wonderful welcome. And now, without further ado, as Nancy mentioned, that I would like to introduce Poonam to all of you. And we are grateful to Poonam because she connected us to IWEC. And before I introduce Poonam, I would like to just say thank you to our sponsors, 57 Promenade, Shell Indonesia, South Quarter, and Unilever. We are really proud to have such wonderful sponsors of all our women events. And now I would like to introduce Poonam. Poonam Sagar is one of the founders of our women's group, actually. So we are really grateful. She has been supporting us for the past 10 years. Poonam is also the founder of IndoIndians.com, which is an online platform for Indians residing in Indonesia. And she's also the co-founder of Infotech System. So Poonam, the floor is to you, and please connect us with this topic and introduce this topic to us before I introduce the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Sony. Thank you for this opportunity. It's indeed a pleasure to be participating in this global event. I too am a proud IWEC awardee from 2009, and so happy to take this forward as an IWEC Global Ambassador for Indonesia. So Nancy, it was lovely to meet Nancy when I went to New York last, and let's see when we can catch up again. As Nancy introduced, the IWEC Foundation, which helps women-owned businesses globally to connect and grow. And in this time of restrictions, the IWEC WhatsApp group is a lifeline with much information and sharing. We celebrate friendships, personal wins, business opportunities, and even tips. I'm very happy to be part of this BritCham and IWEC event, which is which will inspire, share wisdom, experience, insights, and expertise to offer value to others in this difficult time. We together are building circles of trust because we may be experiencing similar hurdles, and together we have each other's back. Luck is the key ingredient to success, and the C in the luck is all about connection. When women connect and support each other, incredible things happen. A woman alone has power, but together we have impact. The truth is that raising each other up and channeling the power of collaboration is truly how we will change the equation and have a lot more fun doing it together. You know, and many a time now I hear many people saying, I wish I had more time. I wish I had more time to myself. I wish I had me time. And this is because of an overwhelming struggle to, keep everything going, especially if you're working from home, you have children at home, if you have husband or parents at home and you're trying to do too many things, juggling a lot of things. But one thing to be grateful for is that we have only 24 hours. Just imagine if we had 48, we would be doing so much more and it would be such a bigger struggle. So, it is very useful to go out and speak to people who seem to be managing it better. Maybe we can learn more strategies from them and find ways to do this better, because time actually is our most valuable resource. Sony has also asked me to talk about energy, personal energy that we give to things we do and people around us. And personally, I think there are three kinds of energy. Intrinsic energy we find inside of ourselves. We find that energy in doing what we love, or if we don't like it, we have to dig deep inside us to find resources of energy to give to that project. Then there's another energy, connected energy that we find by connecting to people, like our friends or people we love. Just thinking of a good friend gives you energy. And the last but not the least is inspired energy from people who no longer exist in this world, like Gandhi, who said, be the change you want to see in the world. Or the poet June Jordan, who wrote, we are the ones we've been waiting for. Yes, we are the ones to empower ourselves and the women around us. So seek out people you admire, ask for advice, and follow up. And that is what BritCham is doing now. We have such a wonderful panelists here. We have Ranjana, Ivy, Dian. And so we will listen to them and maybe find new ways of doing things. Even 2 new things that we learned today are going to help us. So in short, be a doer. And in fact, we are better together. So you had the power all along, says Glinda, the good witch in The Wizard of Oz. So we all have the power. Thank you, Sony, and thank you to all the panelists. And Nancy, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Poonam, for this wonderful introduction. And as you said, without further ado, I would like to call all our panelists who are with us today. And really, thank you so much for joining us, because these are women who are very busy, and yet they have given their time to us. And I'm honored and proud to be part of the BritCham with them. 2 of them are board members together with myself, and Ivy is she is the British Prosperity Honorary Consul for Surabaya and East Java, as well as Deputy CEO and CMO of Kamadjaja Logistics. So that's Ivy Kamadjaja for you. And then we have Dian Andyasuri, President Director of Shell Indonesia. And Dian this year has been nominated, she won an award from SWA as Businesswomen of the Year 2021. And Dian is also a board member of BritCham. And then last but not least, we have Ranjana Singh, who is joining us from India, by the way. And she is a board member of BritCham, as well as country head of WPP, Indonesia and Vietnam. So thank you, all of you ladies. And I would like Dian to start. Please, if you could just introduce yourself, your current role and the biggest lesson that you have learned as a leader during this pandemic.
Okay, thank you very much, Sony, for the opportunity. I hope you can hear me clearly, and good day, good morning, good afternoon to everyone, and I hope everyone is in good health. If I can just say one word, what I learned is that technology is really important, and during these 2 years, I catch up with how to do meetings in Zoom and everything, which I'm sure many of us is working, struggling, and then master the art by now. I am the President Director and also Director for Mobility Business for Shell Indonesia. Has been in Shell for over a decade. Grew up as a finance professional, and then I branch out to do sales, to do marketing, and to do technology as well. Basically, I love connecting with people, working together with people, and then commercially grow business. So I really enjoy what I'm doing now. I guess if I have to really talk about myself a little bit, is that I am a mother of my daughter Sophie, one, and my husband is working as an engineer right now, and also during this pandemic, he has this idea to continue to do a doctoral degree in quantum physics. It sounds esoteric, but what happened is that when you are in this situation, and then your husband is off doing some study, then you get a little bit neglected, and then learning during this pandemic is the patience of women has always been bottomless. Now it has even to be as big as universe, because that's how it is. And then I think we talk about some more later on, but I really am enjoying this crisis right now, simply because it taught me so much, and it helps me grow as mom, as a wife, as a daughter, and also as a leader. So I'm really looking forward to talk about it, and also to learn from Ranjana and Ivy, who I have been admire very deeply.
Thank you, Dian. And next, I would like to invite Ivy. Please introduce yourself and tell us your challenge for this year.
Right. Thank you, Sony, for inviting me today. And hello, Oli, and hello, Ibu Dian and Ranjana. It's really nice to virtually meet you here. And thank you also for your kind introduction to Sony, because currently I'm the Deputy CEO for Kamadjaja Logistics. It's a private, it's a logistic company. It's a private company based in Indonesia, in Surabaya. I've been here for 50 years, and I've been in the business for the past 25 years. And other than that, I'm also appointed as the British Prosperity Honorary Consul for Surabaya and East Java, as mentioned earlier. So this is quite a few hats actually, and I'm so honored today. I mean, this evening, being here with all these fantastic, inspiring women too. And I think I learned quite a lot, Sonia. I mean, during this, pandemic. I mean, as a mother, I mean, as a wife, and as a leader, we never planned this before. I think nobody, I mean, planned, this pandemic before. So quite a lot of things that, I learned. Of course, Dian mentioned earlier, one is the technology, and definitely is, accelerating everything. But on the other hand, we learned a lot deeply about our emotions, but it's a lot of our not really happiness, but really we learn how to control our emotions, how to deal with something that we never expect before. I mean, it's a lot of things, Sony, that I will also probably later to share with you and with the rest of the audience today. So I'm really looking forward also to learn from Dian and from Ranjana after this. So thank you, Sony.
Thank you, Ivy. Yes, and now Ranjana, please tell us about yourself. As everyone said, we really admire you as one of the mentors for all of us. So please share with us your journey.
Hi, my name is Ranjana and I work for WPP across Vietnam and in Indonesia. I must say I feel a bit of a fraud being part of this panel because I don't know that there is much more that I can share other than our panelists, but generally women across all walks of life and what they've had to go through and how they've dealt with it. So I think, yeah, everyone has had a difficult but an amazing journey. And I think the learnings can come from anywhere. But that aside, so first I accept that I'm a fraud on this panel. I'm truly an Indo-Indian, the organization that Poonam heads. I've been in Indonesia now for close to 30 years and generally consider myself lucky in having two homes, two countries that I say I love and belong to, which is India and Indonesia. The one thing that I have learned in this last 1.5 years, or well, almost coming close to 2 years, is just don't plan for anything, because we don't know what's going to happen. And when you plan and your plans don't happen, there's a lot of disappointment, anger, etc. So I think very early on, I learned not to plan, to decide consciously to stay flexible. I came here to India. I'm in India at the moment. I came here in January because of a loss in the family. And I'm here 7 months later. No one in Indonesia seems to want Indians back, so I'm stuck outside the country at the moment. But yeah, I am an optimist, and I believe slowly things will get better, things will be different, and I can't sort of outline all the differences that we will come back to in a relatively more normal world. And the source of strength for me is, of course, in my family, my two wonderful children, who are actually not children, they're adults now, and the community around me, the community, the friends, the colleagues in India, in Indonesia, and anywhere, who've all, like I said, had their very difficult journey, sometimes tragic, but have all learned to deal with it. So I do hope we will all come out on the other side sooner in Indonesia. I think for me, it's been heartbreaking because I was in India in April and May when we went through the most horrific second wave, whatever you want to call it, with immense loss to life. And just when I had sort of learned to deal with that, to my horror, Indonesia went into that tailspin, and then to sort of go through it there. And I don't know if it's coincidence or not. And now Vietnam is going through that. So it's been difficult, but I think amazing people and the absolute belief that we will all come out on the other side and in some way or the other be stronger and better than where we were before.
Thank you, Ranjana. Yes. So I'm going to start with the questions because we have so many, but we will definitely link it up with energy. And I think one interesting question that has come up is that time management. Now, with everyone working from home, what has been an eye opener for each and every one of you to deal with your time for yourself, for your work, and your family? How have you been able to do it successfully, or what challenges are you still facing in managing your time working from home? Please answer in any, anyone can answer first. Let's do it free fall, doesn't have to follow a line, yeah?
I can start maybe. Just to give an illustration that I experienced. I was in the middle of quite an important regional global meeting, and then at the same time, my daughter opened the door and then said, "Mommy, I really need you to help me with this." And then not very long from that, my mom tell me that I need PCR right here, right now. So these things happen, and then my husband said, can you drop from the video? I need the video, the bandwidth is not enough. So it's happened within 3 minutes. And then I still have to answer the questions. I was actually presenting during all these things happening. And after sometimes, the first time this happened, I feel really angry with myself that I cannot deal with all of these things at the same time. And then I learned that through the process is that not everything like this is in a way life or death situation. Some can actually wait, and some you can actually allow the ball to drop, and it's okay. I think for me, the lesson learned in time management is it's okay to not respond to the situation, and it's okay for you to say, at least for me to say, I need time out. Please give me time out. And I think at the same time is to really manage the expectation of the situation that happening around me, and how does that impact the performance that I have. And what I mean by that is that Ranjana was sharing just now, it's okay to be not planning. And I think what it is that it's okay when surprise happen. Don't get mad in yourself that you're not planning, because women tend to really be overachiever and wanting to be perfect in everything we do, right? But it's just about planning to the best we can, deliver to the best we can, and if there is a twist, then we just have to deal with it with smile. And I know this sounds a little bit crazy, but you know, when you smile during this kind of situation, you actually relax yourself, and that allow you to think. So I learned time management is not all about efficiency. I think Bu Ivy was also saying that emotional mastery is important. So I think these are the things I learned when it comes to time management. It's okay. We are doing well. These too shall pass. So then smile and then move on. I think that's my learning when it comes to time management.
I think it's if I can't continue, Sonia. I mean, it sounds very familiar, Bu Dian, what happened to you? Yeah, I mean, like a lot of things, Sonia. I mean, during this pandemic. I mean, this COVID-19 pandemic really hits us. I mean, changing our daily routines, and we never expect before. But similar things that really happened, similar thing with the Ibu Dian. But can you imagine, probably this is the first time I will share with you that once, not once, but a few times actually, I have a meeting, but actually I'm doing a meeting at also preparing some, reheating some food and doing some, house thing with the kids, because last year during the pandemic, unfortunately, that the we used to have a housekeeper or something, but because of the pandemic, then they all left, and we're alone here. It's quite it's in the house, alone with my two daughters. So it's sort of really not really struggling, but we get used to with everything, but for the past year, we have to adjust with everything. Yeah, I mean, so after a few months, doing this thing, and I really have to realize, like what Dian earlier mentioned, but really I try to sort of prioritize things, because being alone here, I have to do a lot of things during the meeting with the kids, and they're doing this, learning from home, and it's really quite not only probably stressful for them, but also stressful as as a mom, I think. And we have to deal a lot. I mean, compared with my husband, then usually we have to deal with them, with all their problem at school and everything. And so I need to prioritize things, and then also make something like a simple ritual. So I know the pattern, like, okay, so this is something that I need to cope with the situations, something that really beyond, my control. I cannot control all these, situations with COVID, but I know that I can control things in the house. But the other thing also, I think the good thing then, I also have like this supporting, family here. So I have my mom like also living next door, so really also helpful for me to really helping me with all this, with the kids, like even though from distance and everything, and like really, I need to learn to accept things. Yeah, I mean, like earlier, I think I'm quite worried because we don't know what happened, and we don't know what really actually COVID was in the beginning. But so we really like living in the zone of worry, I think, in the first few months. But I think after that, then I learned to accept things that, okay, this is something that we have to deal with in the house, also at the work. So I have to also balancing with the team, because we also you can't really actually show that you're also afraid, with the team. So we have, as a leader, as CM, like you have to show, you have to amplify actually hope actually with the team, not to really not fear, but the hope that there is a hope during this pandemic. So there's quite a few things, and probably the last one, then trying to focus on a thing, and at least we don't know really what happened in the future, but at least try to, probably for me, still we need to try to plant a few things. Yeah, I think that's what really happened with me, Sonny. Yeah, thank you.
So if I may, just to add on to what Dian and Ivy said, totally agree with everything they said. I think time management, even without the pandemic, is an issue for people because they choose to make it so. So it's not just the pandemic. I think it's more now time management in a very closed environment. I mean, that's the way I see it. And the only thing that I would say is two things. Learn to say no. So that's, I mean, in the first 3 months last year, you said yes to every Zoom call, meaningful, meaningless, duplicated, and rightfully so. I'm not saying it was wrong, because we were also over communicating with each other to compensate for not meeting. And then very soon, at least for myself and for my people, I realized it's all right to say no, because just by being on more Zoom calls or longer or team calls wasn't helping anyone. The other thing was empathy. So now when I'm on calls and I have this most amazing CFO who's in Singapore, and she's got 2 young boys, and in the middle of a call, one comes into the room and I'm like, okay, take a minute. I start chatting with him. So if you show that you're comfortable with it, it doesn't matter peer, senior, junior. I think you just have to show the empathy, be real about it, because we're all going through the same thing, right? So if you demonstrate that, then people aren't worried. Like Dian said, she was on this global call and, you had your kids coming. Yeah, I'm sure your bosses had a similar experience. So just keep it light, keep it real, and just go with it. And nothing wrong with it at all. And if someone doesn't have empathy, sorry, they're terrible leaders.
Thank you, Ranjana. Yes, it's so true that we all have these moments where we are caught off guard or we have too much going on at the same time. Yeah, which brings me nicely to the next question is that how are you making time for yourself? How are each and every one of you handling, your own energy? Because that is really important. I believe that we are responsible for the energy that we bring to any situation. Can you share some tips that you're doing on a daily basis, please? Please feel free to answer.
Should I go first?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going with not so much on a daily basis, because I think the daily basis sort of gets into a routine, and it is at least a bigger chunk of it is determined by the meetings and different time zones, etc. But when things were yeah, when we were all closed up in our houses, and it wasn't such a bad thing because a lot of people didn't even have the luxury of that, is I had always said that I have a few things on my bucket list, and now the bucket list seemed to be coming closer to the end, so I needed to get through it very quickly. One of the things I did was to learn diving, because I'm working from home. I can carry my phone anywhere, so it was a few days. And after 28 years in Indonesia, the diving heaven of the world, I decided to learn diving and actually went on some of the most amazing dives. I was the second oldest person the diving instructor had taught diving to. And again, as I was telling him, it's not for the certificate or to sort of, notch up dives. I just want to do it for the experience. So that was one, and that energized me. The thought of when I'm going next, the thought of I'm meeting different people, the thought of a new experience that I will have. That was one way of energizing myself. When I came to India and there was all this, forgive me, shit happening, the one way I could cope with and keep my mental state and balance was I actually started walking, and I hate exercise. But I figured that just walking kept me, and for all the physical reasons, walking or exercise is good. But now I enjoy it. So actually that helped me sort of do that. So we have to find, like I said, walking is not something I normally would have enjoyed, but it is finding, that's what I tell anyone, because I do believe the walking or exercise does help your mental state also. Any form of exercise, any form of hobby, you need to find something and do it, because that keeps you going, that gives you something to look forward to.
Yeah, I think it's a bit similar with Ranjana, Sonny. I mean, like, I don't really actually, have time to exercise, but I think, during this, this time, the whole pandemic, then I have to try to think of something, because most of the time, like, we're quite, we have a back-to-back meeting and everything. So, one is just trying to find a daily routine right now. So I try to like make time, even though like a few, probably 30 minutes or something, just, like I'm doing some, I don't know yoga in the beginning, but I think at least I try to do the basic stuff. And it's quite fun. It's quite hard. I mean, but, at least I started. And then it's quite a lot of things. And then probably similar also with, I don't know, Dian, because I try to learn other language. I keep learning. I cannot really speak Mandarin, but at least I try to improve my Mandarin and Japanese. I mean, it's quite fun. I mean, like, but in the past, I tried to make, I tried to find excuse that I don't have time to learn. I'm quite busy with the meeting and traveling, but now I'm stuck here. I haven't traveled for the past like 2 years. So yeah, I mean, like, it's really like pushing me to learn something. And I'm also like did my online learning, doing this with the fellows and with the other company, with the other university offices. So it's quite a lot of things actually for the past, things. I'm trying to figure out what would be like the best for me to keep, enriching me. Because I really, I cannot like keep silent and everything, but as long as I enjoy doing things, I don't like reading actually. But yeah, I mean, like, again, I mean, like, these situations, the whole thing, like push me to read and to learn more. Yeah, I mean, like, beside that, then I do actually right now my own gardening. I mean, like, so it's a lot of new things. I mean, like, keep myself busy, and then planting my bought a lot of succulents. If you know succulents, sorry. So it's a lot of things I try to keep up with to fill up my time and really, really having my own me time. Despite all this hectic meeting and everything, Sonny. Yeah.
So in the beginning of pandemic last year, I get energized with food. In Indonesia, we have Go Food. So every day, almost 3, 4, 5 times, I go and then check what's good food now, and then just go and check. But then I thought pandemic will end, you know, in couple of months, and then it's not. Then I have my 49th birthday last year, and then I realized I'm about to be 50, and when you almost reach 50, you get into some sorts of crisis mode, and you know what kind of 50 you will be. And I decided that if pandemic is going to continue, then I'm going to have great fun in my life. And that's not gonna just come from work. I enjoy my work passionately, but I need to enjoy the rest of, you know, of the time. And then I also realized that I want to look decent when I'm 50. You know, I used to be like truly overweight, and I cannot breathe easily. So I said to myself, okay, let me make a project out of myself. So I just like Ranjana said, I do a lot of exercise. I spend a lot of time to alter my eating pattern. And then I thought to myself, okay, now that I start losing weight, what else can I do now that I enjoy exercising? And I thought to myself, just like Bu Ivy said, if I can just speak a few more language a little bit fluently, that would be good. And then I decided I take more like Mandarin lesson as well as Japanese lesson. I'm blessed to have great teachers, and for the past 1 year, I can really enhance my learning. But definitely, it helped for me to learn technology. So I supplement with Duolingo, for example, apps that help me. I love reading, but I don't want to spend a lot of time in reading because, you know, for me, time is very precious. So I go into an app called Blinkist, where you go into like 15 minutes and then you get a lot out of it. So I use my me time by really improving myself, and I get energized with how I see myself. But most importantly as well is I've now that you all know that I'm 50, you probably know that I have gone through what was one of the worst situation in Indonesia in '97 when I was much younger. When I look back then, I thought to myself, I didn't really experience a lot of enhancement in my life. So should I experience another crisis, I want to use the time to come out of crisis, you know, doing well, looking good, and giving back to community. So that's what energized me, and that's what my me time is all about as well. Of course, I have more time connecting with my family now. Sometimes a little bit, I don't know whether you all agree, sometimes connecting too much is a little bit difficult. So actually, it's about learning, you know, our family, and learning about myself and how to enjoy being in a closed environment, like Ranjana said, for a very long time without, you know, wanting to throw plates and things to you know, each other. And that's something that I learned as well as, you know, me time on how to improve my emotional mastery, and improve my relationship with my husband, with my daughter, spending time to do things together. Now it's getting more difficult because my daughter is a teenage girl. But during this close time, we can't really go out and do things. So I actually have to learn. She's into gaming, for example. So I enjoy talking to her about gaming, which benefit my my role as well. Now I know the niche segment of gamers, for example. So a lot of things that we can do, a lot of things that help me. But I think one last thing that I spend my time and get energized is looking for opportunity to give back, to share, and to help others to continue to be healthy, as well as, you know, to help everybody grow as well. So that's the things that I'm doing that energize myself.
Thank you. Wow. From what you all have shared, it sounds like, you know, we all have so many things that we could do, you know, and it's amazing to see that despite your roles, you have all mentioned that you read, you learn, you have taken up new hobbies. It's really, really amazing. Which brings us to the next question that I would like to ask you is that as a leader, how tough has it been for you to communicate online? Because now there are no more face-to-face communication. And many have sent us a question saying that how do they step up? How could they step up to be visible in a leadership role when the communication is online? And also how to make sure that there are no misunderstandings or misperceptions when you are communicating over a digital platform. Any tips that you have learned during this pandemic, now that you are communicating mainly online? I think Ranjana mentioned earlier about being empathetic, about being compassionate, but any other, points that are important?
I think, Sony, if I can start off this again, there is no substitute for person-to-person contact, the body language, just a hug. And that's probably something, I love people, I love interacting with youngsters, people, new people, etc., and learning from them. So that definitely has been something we've all missed. How do we substitute for that? I don't think you can substitute, but you can make the best of what you have, which is, like I said, digital conversations, just as much as we are doing it now. If you're authentic, if you are genuine, I think you can communicate that. I think you need to listen much more now than you did in a one-to-one environment, because you could learn from body language, but now you need to hear more. So I would say that it would be one biggest thing is listen, ask, hear before you sort of just communicate. And that's probably what we should be doing more of.
Yes.
I think, yeah, I mean, like as Ranjana mentioned, yeah, I mean, during this, yeah, I mean, like we do a lot of our meetings, and I agree that, you cannot substitute this with like person-to-person meeting. We have a different connection, but what I really learned truly, whether this is online or offline meeting, I think that I learned to listen to understand, not listen to respond, actually. Because I in the past tend to respond. I mean, like, whatever people say, then I like, I forget to forget things. I easy to forget things. So I tend to like, okay, so just to respond. But I really, for the past years and few months, I really learned from my other senior, from in the company, like from others, that you really have to listen and to understand, to understand people, but really not to listen then try to respond. Like Ranjana also mentioned, yeah, you also learn to be more empathy, and the compassion with others is really tough, because in the company we also lost quite a few people, Sony, and it's really hard not being able to visit them and give them a hug or give them like how it feels, and it's really quite sad. I mean, like really heartbreaking not to be able to meet them, but anyway, yeah, I mean, that's what I learned a lot during this pandemic, and definitely you cannot really substitute with the online and personal meeting them, but the challenge, then you really have to be clear what you're going to say. And other than that, if I have to, then I usually have to meet them, then I really have to meet them, then I'll meet them. If they really need to meet me, then during these situations, then I really need to meet them, actually. But of course, with the whole safety protocol and everything. Because, yeah, I mean, like none can substitute the face-to-face meeting and everything, Sony.
Thank you. Yes, Dian, yeah.
So for me, when we talk about online meeting, especially professionally, we have too many meetings, right? So we tend to be quite concise and brief to make sure that the 30 minutes, the 1 hour, we can cover everything. And what is missing there is the emotional bonding. So what I normally do is that I reach out to people around me when I'm not meeting, whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's team messenger, or just call, just to ask how they are. And in July, it's a dark moment. I think in Indonesia a lot of people are having difficulty with COVID. I too just lost my father, maybe not 4 weeks from today. So I really empathize with how everybody struggle. There is almost no one who are not impacted with COVID, and they still have to work. So to me, I tend to over communicate in a sense. Yes, there are meetings that have to be truly effective and efficient, but there are times I reach out maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes, three WhatsApp message back and forth just to see how they are. I can hug in during peacetime, non-pandemic. Now I cannot hug them when they have problems. So then food sometimes substitute the hug. So I sometimes send food, just small simple food, or whatever things that come up in my mind, multivitamin, for example, just to say, I love you, I really care about you, and we're not just some working peers, just to make sure that it's not substituting hug, but I hope it substitutes something as well, which is a connection. So I tend to do that. For meetings, I now prepare much tighter, and making sure that people do not waste time to explain slides to me. So I come up with to a meeting telling them, okay, I already read the pack. I already have questions. Unless there are something that you are truly proud of, you want to start with, or there are dilemma you have no way knowing how to solve, let's just focus on the questions and the discussion. So I tend to be very effective for professional meeting, but then then I can liberate them for connecting, one-on-one, because I think the fact is that business is difficult. For us to survive, everybody must really doing extra miles, right? And this is a difficult time to do extra miles. And for that, we have to really have a close connection and trust that we can really pull through together, because otherwise it's just impossible. So I try as a leader to make sure that everybody get energized with me. They trust me that I really care about them. So that when we go into meeting, there is no second guessing, then double talk and anything. They know what I'm saying is what I'm saying. So that's typically how I handle a situation. And if I look at the youngsters in my company, the way they manage effectively and efficiently, for those that's really good, is they come up to meeting with very few slides. They come up to the meeting already very prepared about dilemma, about things they want to talk about. So and some of them actually practice before, so that the meeting going to be really effective and efficient as well.
So sorry about your father, Dian. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, really, all of you, for sharing your personal challenges and really how you are dealing with the communications. And Dian, I must add that we have been mentoring your women's group, the women community in Shell, and they are amazing ladies, and I can see why, they are all very confident, assured, and they are really eager to learn. And we have been so humbled, because as Ranjana also mentioned before, that when we are mentoring, we are also learning. So it has really been a wonderful project between the BritCham Professional Women Group and Shell Indonesia. We have started a mentoring as of last month, and we are doing a 3-month mentoring program, which we would be happy to duplicate with other corporate members of BritCham. So please keep up your, truly exemplary leadership. Yeah. This brings me nicely to the next question from Tim Patterson. He says that research published by the Harvard Business Review in April this year concluded that adding women to the C-suite and top management team changes how companies think. A principal finding was that firms became more open to change and less open to risk. This seems to back up general observations made in the business press during the last year that women CEO-led organizations managed risk better than male counterparts, especially during COVID. What does the panel think the attributes are in women leaders that makes this difference? And how can their C-suite male counterparts learn from this? I think they've also shown that women prime ministers and women leaders have saved their countries, led their countries better during this COVID time. So please share your experience.
So my first question is, we needed a Harvard research study last year to tell us that? How dumb is the world really, honestly? So, well, anyways, I'm glad they started. Sorry, that was just...
But can you please share that what are the...
I think there's no doubt, and it's not, you don't need studies, you need results, because that's what companies exist for. If you see, and I'm going back some 10 years ago, where they found not just the CEOs, but if you had more, just more, I'm not talking about predominant women on the board of a company, their results on the stock exchange or their share value actually went up. So it's not just something nice, it's something good for business. And that time, the conclusion, I suppose, in hindsight was, it brings a very diverse thinking. It opens up minds and avenues for the business to grow, for the people to grow. And that's why it impacts the business. So they can keep doing studies, but yes, they can study companies, and I'm sure Shell has done a great job, as is Ivy's company. So I'm just very, very surprised that in 2021, we still wonder, question, or actually are surprised that, you know, having women in business is good for business. By now, I think we have enough examples and studies to show equally. And I'm not saying you need women because men are bad. I think you need a diverse, inclusive leadership team that helps business, because the world today is a very diverse world. So it's not about women leaders. I think it's about having good representation across not just gender diversity, but all kinds of diversity, which makes a business much stronger and resilient and gets you the best of ideas and creative thinking.
Yeah, Sony, probably just from my experience, because I'm in the family business and in the logistics, which usually people say that it's a man's role and everything, but no, I think the other thing, like Ranjana mentioned earlier, but the way I see is like there is an opportunity. It's not about like whether it has to be male or female, but I'm lucky enough to have this opportunity in the family, because my family, my father never asked me or forced me to be in these positions, but there is an opportunity, and I'm very blessed and grateful having this learning in the logistics. And I think it's just probably being a woman also. I mean, like for me, women, for me, probably one thing that we have like this motherly instinct. I don't know, it's just like usually we're more details, and I don't say men is not details, but usually we tend to more like details. I don't know, I mean, like we question, probably me, I mean, it's not male or female, but I questions more than the rest of the other, probably C-level, I don't know, but I like more curious, and like it's probably that's what make it a bit different. But I think it really depends on the the opportunity. I mean, like Sony, now there's a lot of women, like also in the logistics, in the shipping, and that kind of business. So there's more open opportunity, and there is like, it depends on us, like whether we want to take this chance and we want to make it different in in what we are expert in the industry, Sonny. Yeah. Ibu Dian probably like also Shell in the Shell business, but Ibu Dian is one of the really inspiring, C-level. I mean, like CEO. Ibu, you want to share something?
So
Real CEO.
so I think I echo what Bu Ivi and Ranjana said, and I think it's being minority that helps us to have a more tolerance on things that are different, and actually welcome different things, and if we use professional language, diversity, right? So that's one. The second one, being minority, we experience struggle to when you are in a multinational company and you are female and you are Asia. I guess for me, I'm the only Indonesia in my grade, the only probably one who reached where I am now, and some of the minority in terms of female Asia as well, a leader. So I learned to understand when people struggle and help them to succeed, and spend time and invest time in that. And when one get accustomed in developing talent and surrounding oneself with talent, it helps the business doing well, and it attract other top talent like a bees as well to work with you, and that makes business decision getting easier to make and to execute. And I think being minority, you sometimes welcome or even collect diversity, right? Then when you have diversity, the business decision tend to be more accurate, more implementable, and cover a lot more base. So it's not very narrow kind of decision that get made. And I think lastly, if we're talking about how can that help the business, one thing for sure is that if you were saying that women tend to be more detailed, I think there are two things. Number one is we can see both the trees and the forest. We naturally we see the trees, but for us to compete, we need to be able to see the forest. And what does this mean is that there is also, as a minority, we need to grow our ability to learn fast and better. And when you become a CEO, learning fast and better, I'm sure Bu Ivi and Ranjana agree, that is definitely top quality that we need to have, because sometimes we don't know anything about anything and we need to make decision right here, right now. So learning fast is something that we embrace and we have to have, and that helps us as a CEO of the company that really. So these three things I think help us as a leader. And I think it's not something that is unique. It's something that we can learn as long as we commit to it. And where we are now, I think Ranjana and Bu Ivi and me probably will agree, because we commit on these things for many years. That 10,000 theory, I think for us is more like 20,000, and during this 20,000 there are a lot of bruises that we've gone through, that we then share and make sure everybody else learn from us, and that helps the business become more resilient.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, there are so many questions, but we have already exceeded our time. And I just want to ask you one last question. And that is, because all of you are really amazing. You are true leaders. You are exemplifying what you are saying in your daily life, But from many of the people that I speak to lately, both men and women, they're feeling a lot of frustration a lot of overwhelm, a lot of fear, because this is the second lockdown. It's 1 year later that this COVID has happened, and it's still, it's 1.5 years. And we are still in situations where we don't know what's going to happen next. But all of you have maintained your energy. So that's what I would like you to leave this, the platform with, what are a few, like one word or a few words of wisdom that you could share with everyone so that they can remain positive, focused, and driven. Because I'm seeing even amongst my close friends, relatives, family, there's a lot of lethargy, a lot of frustration, a lot of depression for both men and women. So how can we overcome that? If you are sitting at home too much and you are feeling locked up.
Maybe let me start. I am old enough to say that I've been through quite a few crises, both worldwide and personal. That I have never seen a crisis, and I learn also from history because I get frustrated. So I look back, and there is no crisis that is open end. Every single crisis gets solved, whether it's depression, in 1940s, if I remember the time, and then 60s, 70s, 80, 90, every single one of them finished. It's 1 year, it's 2 years, it's 3 years, but it finished. So this too shall pass. Now, the second one is, if this too shall pass, then we want to make sure that we do not waste the crisis for our own growth. So it is important that to remember that this crisis will pass, and we need to focus on developing ourselves, focus on the things that we can control, so that we come out winning out of this crisis. Number 3 is that I've gone through maybe at least close to 10 surgery in my life. So I almost die many times. Every single time I reflect that I really want to make sure my life worth living, worth remembering, worth celebrating. And for that, I want to make sure that I am proud of myself. I am proud of my family. And that's why I want to make sure that when I pass this crisis, it is with sense of achievement. I lost my father. I also had gone through COVID. My family had gone through COVID. And I want to make sure that all the struggle that we have as a family and also as a company, it's something that my dad up in the sky and my family will be proud of us here with looking at our achievement. So I think let's together we make sure that we maintain sense of sanity. We focus on the things that we can control. We focus on the things that we can grow with, and then hopefully we come out of this crisis as a winner.
Thank you, Dian. Thank you for sharing your
Bu Dian, you said it all, Bu.
Yeah. Anyone would like to add to that? Yeah.
Probably just very short, Sonia, I think, but thank you again. My life also been touched with lightly with the COVID in last year actually, but thank God I survived. But what I think I learned, like a lot of things that I learned. We mentioned this earlier, but I think I really appreciate more in terms of like having time with the family, and then appreciate more having more respect and more empathize with the having empathy with the with the colleagues, and you really have to appreciate and having a priority in your life, and you really have to learn to accept things. I learned to accept things that I really cannot control, and be grateful. I'm being so grateful that with what I am right now with, where I am and everything. And I try to learn something that I can control. I mean, like also mentioned earlier, I learned that. And I try to also probably in the past, being the leader, I tend to be like lead only with my head and with my hand. But now, I mean, like for the past year, I mean, like from my dad, I learned a lot that now that, we need to lead the team, not only with the head, with the hand, but also with the heart. So, I think there's really, I learned a lot about that. I mean, like for the past, this 1.5 years only. So being a leader, being the wife, being the mother, the daughters, and, I mean, like, I know that this is something that I think we can have that all. I mean, with the right, supporting team, supporting family, Sonny. And I really hope that, everybody here and the, our colleagues, our friends, our audience that, stay healthy, stay positive, and let's amplify hope, not fear. Thank you, Sonny.
Thank you.
Very quickly, Sonia,
Yes.
I'd like to say is just count your blessings. And I know all of us have been touched by the COVID in very, very tragic ways. And now I see what's happening in Afghanistan. And tell me, where is the end over there? We know the COVID will pass. We know some of the things we can control. When I see the tragedy that is unfolding in that country for the people, God help the women of that country. I mean, nothing can be worse than that. And how helpless can you be? So I think it's just to remind ourselves that, yes, this has been tough. Yes, we will get past it because there are things we can do. And given all the sacrifices families have made, people who've lost loved ones, is not to forget. And that's why when I see people who refuse to take a vaccine, who do not wear a mask, who don't indulge in social distancing, I think it is just so heartless of those people because they're insensitive to the loss and how they can affect someone else. So I just pray that we sort of communicate that and make sure that people around respect that, this affects people and the losses that we've all had, to sort of make sure we don't have more of that. And I loved what Dian said. At the end of it, let's just celebrate life, however long, however short, whether it's COVID driven or something else driven. That's all we can do, is celebrate it, live it well. And as she very well said, be proud of someone we touched or something that we left behind. So it's truly been an honor being on this panel with all of you wonderful people. But like I said, all the others who have been here, but otherwise in touch, I think each and every one, man, woman, there's a lot to learn.
Thank you, really. Wow, I wish that we didn't have to end. And I'm really amazed at everything that you all have shared and all the good work that you're doing. And normally I summarize the event, but today, since we are already running out of time, and since the BritCham team that is very resourceful has come up with something new, they told me that there is a Google Jam board. So I'm learning because the team is very young. They keep me on track, and they said that at the end of this session, when I close finally, after the panelists leave, the rest of you, if you still have time, please share your thoughts and your takeaways on this Google Jam board, which Asti has now put on the screen. So, but before we do that, I would like to thank each and every panelists for being here. I would like to thank Nancy as well as Poonam for making this event happen. And I would like to thank each and every one of you for giving us your time, for participating, for listening. And I think just to add to end, because everybody has already shared so much of value, please try to practice it in your daily life, and please pay it forward. By paying it forward, I mean share it with a family member, share it with a friend, share the tips that you have learned today with your colleagues, because that's the only way that you will start instilling it in yourself. For me, the Professional Women Group has truly been a platform where I can pay forward everything that I have learned from all the teachers I've met in this life, including the panelists today. So I think the most important lesson that we need to learn from all this is that life is a university. Every day we are learning, and COVID is one of the exams that we are going through. So it's up to us what lessons we want to learn and whether we want to pass the test or we fail it. But we can still be human, we can still embrace one another, and let's show some compassion and make time for those who are important to us before we realize that we didn't do that and we have regrets. So I think that summarizes this event today. Thank you to our sponsors, 57 Promenade, Shell Indonesia, South Quarter, and Unilever Indonesia. Thank you to everyone, and let's start writing. And see you at our next event, which is going to be in end of September. We have monthly webinars, and if you're not a member, please do join us for our event next month. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And yeah, please write.